Greetings and salutations. It is I, Mr. Nothing, the museum curator of the weird and the strange, and a host who might be a ghost. Welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about all the unusual literature that I've found in my travels as I deal with the aftermath of a unusual board game. So today it is Short Story Tuesday, and I wanted to focus on another book aimed at children, much like what I did with Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, mainly because that's what I wanted to do, and also because I forgot to go to the library, so I couldn't check out another short story collection. I wanted to focus on a short story that I read all the way back in 4th grade that I consider to be a pretty good short story, and I wanted to see if it held up at all. And so I'm referring to one that focuses on unusual board games. I am talking about Jumanji by Chris Van Allsburg. So for those that don't know, Chris Van Allsburg is a prolific author. He's noted for writing a lot of children's literature and winning a lot of awards because of it. I believe he won an award for writing Jumanji. He's also written Zathura, which I've always considered to be a Jumanji clone, and it's Allsburg trying to capitalize on what made him successful in the first place. But it's still good in its own right, and the movie adaptation is pretty good too. But something I didn't know when I was looking him up, he also wrote The Polar Express, which is another quality book. I like it because it captures the spirit of what Christmas is. And I also like it because of the movie adaptation of it, which I think is absolutely wonderful. A lot of people gripe on the motion capture for The Polar Express, and I will say it is a bit dated, but it was one of the first of its time to really try full body motion capture and capturing faces, and so I think it does pretty well, and it with those risks. And it also was the first in its time because it gave Tom Hanks 7 different roles in one movie, which is pretty funny. But I think on the list of top Christmas movies, it definitely deserves to be up there because there's a lot of great things about it, specifically the little boy, the hero boy, trying to capture what Christmas means and being a little in doubt. But I think it's wonderful, and it's definitely worth checking out, along with Chris Van Allsburg's other work. Today I wanted to talk about Jumanji. I'll put the cover right here because it is an interesting cover, and I don't have a physical copy on me right now. I want to do a little summary, a little analysis, and we will move on from there. So Jumanji focuses on Judy and Peter, brother and sister. They are home alone, and they are quite bored because, those children need to be stimulated. Otherwise, they will grow bored and get into the pantry and eat all your cookies, as children tend to do. So they go outside, and I think it's Peter who hears a strange noise, and they at the source of the noise, they find a game called Jumanji, a board game. They take it home, and they decide to play it, which is a mistake. Do not take board games home and play them without taking them to some sort of exorcist first, because you never know if there's a ghost hiding in the game or something like that. That could be troublesome. They read the rules, and they're very blah about the rules. They don't take it seriously. It says you have to finish the game, and you have to make it to the end. Which they're this seems really simple. Let's just play. And so I think it's Judy who goes first. Who she rolls, and a giant lion pops out of the game and chases after Peter. They manage to lock it in their mother's bedroom, but they're we got to finish this game. We can't leave the lion in there. It might. It might eat mom when she gets home, and mom doesn't like lions in her bedroom, so we gotta fix that. And they continue to play, and more weird stuff happens. You get monkeys popping out of the game and harassing them. You get a monsoon that's pouring down rain. You get strange bugs that cause them to fall asleep, and you end up with a monsoon. Did I already say that? But like you end up with a lot of terrible stuff happening to these kids, and very fortunately, they are able to roll and get to the end of the game, where it says Jumanji, and then everything is sucked back into the game, where they're like, okay, we don't want this game anymore. They take it and they toss it away into the woods, where hopefully nobody ever finds it. When they get home, they try to tell their parents about it, but their parents are like, oh, kids, then their imaginations, that none of that actually happened. Their parents end up talking to their friends, who start talking about their children and how they don't like to finish anything and they're kind of lazy. And outside the window, Judy and Peter see that those kids who they're talking about have picked up the board game Jumanji and are intending to play it. But given that they don't finish anything, Judy and Peter are kind of worried because bad things could happen if you do not finish the game. So in terms of analysis, there's a few things I wanna mention here. The first is how the illustrations are pretty cool with this book. I'll put some of them up here because much like the cover, like they're very unique and different illustrations. Very simple, but also kind of funny and like kind of wacky in a way, because you have like a lion, like Peter's scared of a lion, which is kind of interesting because there's a lion in a bedroom. You don't see that very often, and as a kid you're like, oh, this is different, this is interesting. You also have Judy rolling the dice and a bunch of monkeys watching her play, which is just like they're harassing her, but they're also kind of curious about what's going on. The monkeys are obviously the best part about Jumanji, and like it's any illustration that features them is pretty cool. And then you have a whole bunch of other illustrations as part of this book that are very interesting and worth checking out as you read the book. Again, as I mentioned, like they're very simple, black and white, like a rhino marching through their living room, but it's out of the ordinary, like a rhino in a living room. It's wild. So like, I think that's what captures your imagination and makes this book hard to forget, at least one of the reasons. Another interesting thing to note about this book is how it kind of introduces children to magical realism, because Judy and Peter are playing this game, and like out pop monkeys and rhinos and weird bugs and rain of all things, and so it's like this, out of this board game pops something magical and strange, which I feel like you might see a little bit in the children's literature genre, but Chris Van Allsburg definitely works on it here, and it's something that shows up a lot in his books, like a train that takes you to the North Pole, or like a board game that takes you to space. Interesting ideas that rely on like magical out of the mundane, and definitely like worth giving to your child so that they can be wowed and amazed, which I think is the goal of all children's lit. The last thing I'll talk about is the ending, how it's a bit uncertain and leaves children wondering like, oh, what's going to happen? Because Judy and Peter see out the window like two children who don't like finishing things, kind of lazy, kind of terrible kids. They get the game, and they're going home presumably to play it. So what's going to happen to them? Are they going to get eaten by lions? Are they going to drown in a massive monsoon-caused flood in their house? That's an interesting question. It certainly makes children think, and it's like it's interesting that Chris Van Allsburg doesn't give children the answer right away. He just leaves them to ponder this unusual situation. And then also it leaves children with the message like, oh, you better finish what you start, otherwise, bad things could happen to you. Don't be like these two kids over here. Like, be like Peter and Judy. They finished the game even though it was a challenge, and they end up making sure that nobody got eaten by a lion in the process. So definitely worth considering as you read the story. Overall, I would say absolutely go out and find this book and read it. I think you can find it on various like Kindle sources for pretty cheap. It's worth checking out. It's an old book, but I think it holds up in that it still tells a pretty compelling story for children, and even adults can find some humor in it based on the pictures and the silliness that exist within it. So yeah, if you have previously read this book, or you want to say something about Jumanji in general, please leave a comment below. I would love to hear from you, and we can always talk about children's books and what they mean to you now, and also when you may have read them in the past. Otherwise, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so that other people may find out about Short Story Tuesday, and so that other people may find out about Jumanji and Chris Van Allsburg, who is a quality author. Until then, I wish you the best of luck as you travel throughout the weirdness and also compete to finally win at a board game that tries to suck you in and kill you. Ooh.